next section, you see, Bob has introduced his friend Jimmy Wells. He has said Jimmy Wells is my friend for whom I have been waiting here. It is said to the policeman, and they have their brotherly affection, right? So they live together in their childhood, just like two brothers. Then Jimmy Wells is saying, Bob is saying, I was 18 and Jimmy was 20. The next morning, I was to start for the West to make my fortune. So it was said in the yesterday's class that Bob has intention to grow more than Jimmy Wells. This is why he did something illegal, right? I was start for the West to make my fortune. You understand? Jimmy Wells, sorry, Bob had ambitious. Bob had ambition. It is ambitious Bob who is saying I was to start for the West to make my fortune. Is it not? Ambitious statement of Bob. Yes, this is a bit ambitious. The statement is a bit ambitious in tone. You could not have dragged Jimmy out of New York. That means Jimmy Wells had homesickness, nostalgic attitude of Jimmy Wells. This is why Jimmy Wells thought of New York to be his heaven, to be his everything, right? This is the only place of art that is New York. This is the belief of Jimmy Wells. It is stated by Bob, right? Well, we agree that might we would meet here again exactly 20 years from that date and time, no matter what our conditions might be or from what distance we might have to come. That means whatever can be the distance between Jimmy and me, Bobby saying, whatever can be the distance between Jimmy Wells and me, we are very close, we are very punctual. So we figured that in 20 years, each of us out to have our destiny worked out and our fortunes made, whatever they were going to be. That means, according to the fortune, according to our fortune, we have been becoming the persons in terms of wealth development, right? So, in terms of establishment, whatever Jimmy Wells have been, it is his fortune. Whatever I have been, it is my fortune. This is actually explained by Bob. It sounds pretty interesting, said policeman. Now the policeman is giving interest, right? Is showing his interest to Bob's story. Rather a long time between meeting, though it seems to me. Haven't you heard from your friend since you left? So I said possibly this in the last class that it was policeman's query whether they corresponded each other in between 20 years, right? Long time, 20 years. Well, see, for a time we corresponded, said the other. Other means the stranger man, that is Bob. Bob is still not introduced by his name to the readers. You will get it later on towards the end of the story, right? So we lost track of each other. So sometimes they met, they corresponded sometimes in between 20 years, but long ago they lost their track of connection, right? It is quite possible because Jimmy Wells have been a police officer, right? And Bob is a smuggler. Bob is a man of illegalacy. This is why they will lost the track of meeting tracks, the track of connection of each other. That has happened actually. It is not that a criminal will be the friend of police or a friend or a police will be the friend of criminal. Is it possible? No, it is not possible that criminal will be a police's friend and a police will be criminal's friend, right? They can be acknowledged to each other. They can be known to each other, but they will not be their friends, according to me, right? So this thing happened here. Jimmy Wells,
Friend.
yes,
No problem if they become friend.
no problem.
If they becomes friend.
Yes, no problem if they become friend, but it is not possible that police officer, you see here it is stated, but after a year or two, we lost track of each other. So why the uh, track of connection is lost? Understood? Why the track of connection is lost for 1 or 2 years? Because Jimmy Wells is a police officer and Bob is a criminal, right? Even Bob hmm, will be arrested, right? And such such arrest warrant has been published by the authority, has been published by the administration, right, from the other country. And New York police has been asked to arrest Bob immediately, mm,
mm,
because of the warrant published. So it can also be the reason why they lost the track of connection to each other, right? Clear. So if the warrant is published to arrest Bob, it is quite natural that Bob will try to save himself from
yes,
the hand of administration, right?
yes,
That thing happened possibly. This is why the track of meeting each other was lost. You see, was is a pretty big proposition, and I kept hustling around over it pretty lively. But I know Jimmy will meet me here if he is alive. You see. So it is Bob's belief Jimmy must meet him if he is alive. So Bob also does not know whether Jimmy is alive or not, for he was always for he always was the tourist, mm,
okay,
starist, mm,
मतलब,
Truest, tourist. That means the person who can be trusted, who can be believed, right?
mm,
So this is why it is Jimmy Wells, it is Bob's belief in Jimmy Wells that he must meet him there, because Jimmy Wells is a man of trust. Even they were brotherly affections for each other, right,
mm,
from their childhood. This is why it is not possible that Jimmy Wells would not meet him there if he is alive, right? So you see, next he will never forget. So Jimmy Wells will never forget.
mm,
Hmm. Jimmy Wells will never forget. So you understand, Bob believes in Jimmy Wells. Huh? I came 1,000 miles to stand in this door tonight. That means from a long distance, from a long distant area. Bob has come to meet Jimmy Wells. Clear? So Bobby Singh, I came 1,000 miles to stand in this door tonight, and it's worth it if my old partner turn up. That means it is Jimmy Wells' statement, who has been waiting for his old friend. Mm, met each other 20 years ago. Sometimes they had connection, but now they lost their connection to each other. The waiting man pulled out a handsome watch and leads of it set with small diamonds. Even you see the diamond in the watch, right?
mm,
So
what,
leads of the diamond set with leads of the watch sets with small diamonds. So very rich person, the richest person. Hmm. So according to O. Henry, there was some diamond necklace. Here you can also see the leads set of small diamonds. These are giving implication of Bob being a smuggler, right? Being a man of the world of illegation, right? There, minutes to 10, he announced. So time is set. It was exactly 10 o'clock when we parted here at the restaurant door. Did pretty well out west, didn't you? Asked the policeman. You bet I hope Jimmy has done half as well. He was a kind of plodder. Plodder, plodder. What is plodder? You know, plodder means slow and steadily work. That means very slow motion of worker, right? Or very slow motion of a man in working. So he was a kind of plodder, means he was a kind of lazy person. So Bob is saying why Jimmy Wells have been doing late to meet him here tonight. Bob is saying he was a kind of plodder. That means he is a kind of slow. He's a kind of lazy, right? This is why he is doing late to meet me here, right?
yes,
Though good fellows as he was, I have had to compete with some of the surfaced weeds going to get my pile. So my pile is my fortune, right? It is refers to the money he had, right? So my pile means my money, my fortune, my wealth, right? A man gets in a grove in New York City.
mm,
A man gets in a grove. Figurative speech. Gets in a grove. That means gets in a routine, right?
routine,
Yes. Routine. Routine means you understand the time schedule. Hmm.
Yes.
A man gets in a grove in New York City. That means the man of New York City is very maintained by timetable. Hmm. It takes the West to put a razor edge of him. The policeman twirled his club and took a step or two. I will be on my way. Hope your friend comes around all right. Going to call time on him sharp. So call time on him sharp means here leave if he doesn't appear on time. So this is the policeman's instruction. So you can leave this area, you can leave this place, sorry, you can leave this place if your friend does not come on time. This is said by policeman, right? Policeman is saying I will be on my way. Obviously the policeman has his duty, he will be on his duty. And policeman is also saying I hope your friend comes around all night, I hope your friend must come to meet you tonight. uh, Going to call time on him sharp, that means if your friend doesn't come here to meet you, you will leave this place now, right? This is said by the policeman. I should say not, said the other. I will give him half an hour at least, that means I will wait more half an hour for him, that means beyond the scheduled time I will meet him half an hour more. If Jimmy is alive on earth he will be here by the time. So long, officer, right? So officer is saying if your friend doesn't come on time he will leave this place, right? But Jimmy Wells is saying my friend if he is alive he will come to meet me if he is alive, and I will give him half an hour more, right? When they will meet at 10, right? But half an hour more will be given to Jimmy Wells. Good night, sir, said the policeman, passing on along his bed trying doors as he went. There was now a fine, cold drizzle falling, and the wind had risen from its uncertain puffs into a steadily blow. So it was the rough, windy night that is stated in this line. The few pedestrians in the neighborhood hurried dismally. So hurried dismally, that means walked quickly, in a cheerless way. That means they were hurried to leave the place for the night being bad, being foul, mm, cold, windy, and wet night. And silently, along with coat collars turned high and procked hands, puckered hands, and in the door of the hardware store, the man who had come 1,000 miles to fill an appointment. How much difficult is the journey of Bob, the stranger man who is talking to the policeman, have has come 1,000 miles, had come 1,000 miles to fill an appointment. That means to keep an appointment, right? To absurdity. Absurdity means obviously it is almost an absurd idea to meet a friend according to the giving promise 20 years ago. Hmm. So with a friend of his yacht, smoked his cigar and waited. Yes. About 20 minutes he waited, and then a tall man in a long overcoat with collar turned up to his ears hurried across from the opposite side of the street. So, after 20 minutes, you see, another person is coming from the opposite direction of the road to meet Bob, to meet the stranger person who is waiting for Jimmy Wells. Okay, he went directly to the waiting man. Is that you, Bob? He asked doubtfully. Is that you? Jimmy Wells, cried the man in the door. That means the person after 20 minutes we have come across and we have come from the opposite direction of the door has met Bob and asked, is it that you, Bob? He asked doubtfully. Is that you, Jimmy Wells? Cried the man in the door. It is their introduction to each other. Bless my heart, exclaimed the new arrival, grasping the other's hands with his own. It's Bob, sure as fate. I was certain I did find you here if you were still in existence. Well, 20 years is a long time. The old restaurant's gone, Bob. I wish it had lasted, so we could have had another dinner there. How has the West treated you, old man? So it has given me everything I asked it for. You have changed a lot, Jimmy. I never thought you were too tall by 2 or 3 inches. That means, you see, here they are meeting each other to be Bob and Jimmy Wells and talking to each other in the same way. So the man who has come crossing the road to meet Bob, has been seemed to be 1 or 2 inch long, inches long than Bob. Oh, I grew a bit after I was 20. You see, doing well in New York, Jimmy. Moderately, I have a position in one of the city mm, departments. Come on, Bob. We will go around to a place I know of and have a good long talk about old times. Actually, this man has come to arrest Bob, who is a criminal, who is a man of legacy, has done a crime. The two men started up the street, arm in arm. That means they have been now very close in their gesture. Clear. One his, egotism. Yes, one is egotism enlarged by success. So his egotism enlarged by success. Here, his vanity has increased because of his success. So Bob is a bit in vain. Bob's vanity is perceived. Bob's vanity is realized by the man who is talking to him, because Bob has been a bit in vain for his success. Clear? Because huge success has been achieved by Bob, who obviously is a man of black word, right? This is why he achieved a huge success. Something legacy Bob has been doing in the West, from where he has come to meet his friend Jimmy Wells. Because of his success, more than Jimmy Wells, obviously, Bob's success is more than Jimmy Wells, right? This is why Bob is a bit in vain. Bob has gained the vanity as well with his success. This is why his egotism enlarged by success. This is a figurative speech. When the writer is saying his egotism enlarged by success, then you have to understand that the person has been in vain. The person has got his vanity as well by the success, by his success, right? The other, submerged in his overcoat, listened with interest. At the corner stood a dragstones, brilliant with electric lights. Sorry, yes, brilliant with electric lights. When they came into this glare, each of them turned simultaneously to gaze upon the other's face. So simultaneously to gauge upon the other's face. That means come, hmm, when they come to a light, electric light, when they came under the light of electric post, they turned each other's face. They were looking each other, because in the darkness they had met and they were coming talking to each other from the darkness. This is why they were unable to see each other's face properly, right? So when by talking they have reached under the light post by the electric light, now they can see each other's face. That thing is happening. They turned simultaneously to gauge, that means to see upon the other's face, right? The man from the west stopped suddenly. So Bob has here stopped suddenly after looking the face of man whom he thought to be Jimmy Wells, right? So the man from the west stopped suddenly and released the other's arm. Are you not Jimmy Wells? He snapped. 20 years is a long time, but not long enough to change a man's nose from Roman to a pug. So, from Roman to a pug. That means here, two distinctly shaped nose, the nose of Roman and the nose of pug. They are not equal in size. So, Chinese nose and Indian nose are different, you understand, right? So, Chinese people or the people of Nepal can be judged by their nose. Their nose is blunt, right? So, understood. Have you seen the Chinese man or the man of Naples? Their nose are different from that of ours, right? So, this is why changed is also there in the nose, as if it is the difference between Roman nose and a nose of and a pug nose, right? So, enough to change a man's nose from a Roman to a pug. Clear? So, Bob is saying, how is it possible that your nose has also changed? How is it possible? You have been 2 or 3 inches long, even your nose has changed. Clear? So it is Bob's suspense. Bob understood that it was not his own friend Jimmy Wells at all. It sometimes changed a good man into a bad one. This is very, very important implication given by the man to Bob, that you are asking me for my changed nose, for my changed height, but you see, sometimes a man can be changed from good to bad. This is implied that Bob was good, but has changed into bad, has changed into an immoral person, has changed into an unethical person, has changed into a person of legacy, right? So this is why when Bob is claiming that your height has changed, now Bob is claiming your nose has changed, then the man is saying it sometimes changes a good man into a bad man. That means the man is actually indicating the identity of Bob, who has changed from good man into a bad one. Clear? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Said the tall man. Yes, tall man is here. You have been under arrest for 10 minutes.
10 मिनट के लिए
Silky Bob. Hmm.
हम्म,
Chicago, things you may have dropped over our way and wears us. She wants to have a chat with you. She wants to have with a chat with you. C is reference to Chicago. Hmm.
yes,
Yes, in English. Hmm. So SHEC. C is referred to the city, right? The country. The city country is referred to by saying C. Clear? So because it is mother like, India is as if mother, our, right? So in the same way, Chicago is referred to by C, means a country city. So a fruitful city is referred to by using the word C. So dropped over our way and wears us. She wants to have a chat with you. Going quietly, are you? That's going quietly, are you? That means, are you here? You will come along with a struggle, won't you? Mm. That is referred to by going quietly, are you? That's sensible. Now, before we go to the station, there's a note. I was asked to hand to you. You may read it here at the window. Clear? So the tall man had a written note in his pocket. That note now will be given to Bob. Hmm.
हम्म,
Yes. You may read it here at the window. It's from Patrolman Wells. It is from Patrolman Wells. So who sent this letter? The letter was written or sent by Patrolman Wells, right? Patrolman, Patrolman Wells. This is proper noun. The man from the west unfolded the little piece of paper handed to him. His hand was steadily when he began to read, but it trembled a little by the time he had finished. The note was rather short. Clear? The note was rather short. What was written in the note? You see, Bob, I was at the appointed place on time when you struck the match to light your cigar. I saw it was the face of the man wanted in Chicago. Somehow I could not do it myself, so I went around and got a got a point others man to do the job, right? This is written by Jimmy. Already you see the signature by Jimmy in the Chirkut, in the letter. Clear? In the note you see the sign of Jimmy. Can you see? There is a sign of Jimmy in the given Chirkut, in the given letter. So Bob, I was at the appointed place on time. So you understand then the policeman who met Bob was actually his Jimmy Wells, right? This is why he's saying, Bob, I was at the appointed place on time. It is written there in the letter. When you struck the match to light your cigar. So when Bob struck the light to light his cigar, when there was the policeman who was in gesture, moving around and talking to him. I saw it was the face of the man wanted in the Chicago. So Chicago wants Bob because Bob is a criminal, has done some crime possibly. This is why Bob has so much wealth to wear it in necklace and wear it as the lead of watch. So you see, it's his diamond, right? Diamond necklace, diamond watch. So much wealth is has come from where? Obviously, come from the way of legacy that is done by Bob, who went to West to make his fortune. Such fortune has been done that you can see. Now Bob is going to be arrested. Even his own friend Jimmy Wells is not going to arrest him. Jimmy Wells sent another person to arrest him. Even he is wanted by Chicago. It is the arrest warrant. Hmm. Issued by Chicago government to arrest him. Somehow I could not do it myself, so I went around and got a point clothes man to do the job. Sorry. Yes, yes, here you see Plon, point clothes man. Hmm. That means a man who has a civil dress, a man who has no official dress to arrest, has been sent with the letter to arrest Bob. So who has actually sent? Jimmy has sent this letter uh, to acknowledge his friend Bob that he went there to meet him. Clear?
Yes.
So in this story, finally, we are getting into the idea, into the main idea, which is implied. Idea is that the policeman who met Bob in the on the street, right? So in the darkness on the street, the man as a police who met Bob was his friend actually, right? Was his friend Jimmy Wells. Clear?
Yes.
So what happened then finally? Finally happened that the policeman who met Bob first on the dark street was his friend Jimmy Wells, right?
Yes.
When he was lighting his cigar in his mouth. So after seeing the man, after seeing Bob, Jimmy Wells understood that he he's a wanted criminal. Mm. He's a criminal wanted by Chicago, and arrest warrant has been issued for this man. This is why the policeman has been back from his friend Bob after meeting, clear, and now has sent another person who is in loin cloths. Okay, another person has been sent to Bob to arrest him.
Yes.
So it's a question, why did not Jimmy arrest Bob? Why didn't Jimmy arrest Bob? Because Bob was his close friend.
Yes.
It will be uh, something,
Pathetic.
yes, it can be pathetic somehow. Hmm. This is
Yes.
why Jimmy did not arrest Bob, because they had their brotherly affections to each other. Clear? They
Yes.
were very close to each other. Brotherly relation they had in their childhood. So they had obviously profound affection to each other. How could it be possible that Jimmy Wells would arrest Bob? This is why, in form of police officer, when Jimmy Wells met Bob, he then understood that this person is my friend who has already unknowingly identified himself to the policeman who was Jimmy Wells, right?
Yes.
And finally, Jimmy has decided to send another person to arrest him with the letter. So letter has been sent to Bob as if Bob understand that Jimmy Wells is still alive and Jimmy Wells has kept his promise of meeting, right?
Okay.
So Bob has kept the promise of meeting after 20 years tonight. Has Jimmy Wells kept this promise? Yes. Jimmy Wells has also kept this promise of meeting after 20 years tonight. How Bob has kept the promise? Bob has kept the promise by the meeting physically there on the street, and he had been waiting. And how Jimmy Wells kept his promise of meeting? Because Jimmy Wells already met him in form of in the police dress, right?
Yes.
And finally, Jimmy Wells also has sent a letter to Bob to make him acknowledged that his friend, me, went there to meet him and has met him. Clear?
Mm.
So both has met each other. Both have met each other, but their way of meeting is different. So Bob has tried to meet his friend Jimmy Wells very frankly and very openly, right?
Yes.
This is clearly stated to the readers. So meeting of Bob is clearly stated to the readers, right?
Mm.
But meeting of Jimmy Wells with Bob is a bit different, because this meeting is not clearly stated, is implied, is left in the hands of the readers. Clear? So readers will have to be acknowledged whether Jimmy Wells actually met him or not, and how the way that Jimmy Wells met him. The way of meeting Bob to Jimmy Wells was different. When Jimmy Wells was in form of police officer, it is actually stated in the story that Jimmy Wells, is a police officer, went to Bob and talking to each other when they were when Bob was having cigarettes, Caesar. Is it clearly stated in the
No.
story?
No.
It is not clearly stated in the story. It is implied. So according to the mood of implication, according to the implication according to the implied method. So it's implied method, but according to the uh, mood of narrative, it is guessed by the readers that the policeman who made fast to Bob was Jimmy Wells, right?
Yes.
So I hope after being revised, the story has been more clear to you, right?
Yes.
What do you say?
Yeah, it's clear.